So a storyboard is so you don't forget something. So, which means, if we're not going to forget something, what does the storyboard need to include? And don't say everything. So a storyboard is a document that details each scene to be captured with drawings and and I was, watched a lot of this kind of stuff. So I was watching a video of Ron Howard. Anybody know who Ron Howard is in the movie industry? Yeah? Okay. He is a childhood actor. He played Opie way back in the early 60s. And he has directed some movies like Apollo 13, and most recently 13 Lives, which talks about the soccer team that was caught in a cave in Thailand, and Coon and a bunch of other movies along the way. And he's known as a very good director. There's some actors who really appreciate his attention to detail. When he comes to set, he has this big 3-binder notebook. And that is the storyboard for what they're doing that day. It has every single sequence that they're going to film. It has the angle, it has the shot impression, it has the script, it has everything, right? So he's just going through the storyboard to make sure that everything is ready before he shoots, right? That the actors are properly, that all of the details are ready, that the lighting is good to go, that everything is good to go. And it's all because what is detailed in the storyboard. So if it's not a storyboard, it should not be in the video. That's one way to think about it. But also, you have to make sure, by the way, that if it is on the storyboard, it should be included in the video. And you can edit it out later. Okay? So it's a document that details each scene to be captured with drawings and script. Okay? So, and I call it a document. And generally speaking, you're going to have a page, and then each page is going to have some rectangles on it. And it depends on how you want to lay it out on your particular document. But I think what we're going to be doing the next couple of weeks is so complicated that we would have to have this big old storyboard with all of these details and all of that stuff. But it's important to at least think through what you're going to film, where you're going to film it. Hey, do you guys remember this project that we did, this assignment that we did way back when called camera shots? Yes. Yeah? Okay. Right? Tilt, track, pan, all that kind of stuff, right? Those camera movements are going to be in your storyboard so that you know what you're going to do with the camera when you're at a particular scene. So it really plans things out. So these rectangles, let me get another color since I have other colors here. Are called frames. Actually scenes. They're actually called scenes. Or frames within them. Because sometimes an actual scene could be comprised of a variety or a number, a few segments within a storyboard. Okay? So if you have a lot of movement, you have a lot of camera movement, whatever, you might need additional scenes or frames to make sure that you depict that and make sure that you have that covered. Okay? And then next to that, there's going to be a couple of things. Here's my script. Okay, and you may also have numbers. Okay, so you have to number each of the scenes so that you know what order to do. Well, let's see. Now let me think about that. When you're filming, do you have to film in order? No, absolutely not, right? And that happens a lot of times. If you start to think about and do some research on how they film movies, they're going to film certain scenes on certain days, and they might be out of the chronological order of the movie. I always wondered how they did Tom Hanks in Castaway. Did he did all of his scenes when he was a heavier actor before he lost the weight? Or did they make him lose the weight and then had him gain the weight back? I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting thing because he is of the heavier set at the beginning and at the end of the movie, right? So it would make sense to film those two segments of the movie at the same time and then film all the stuff on the island separately from that. But that's why we have these different cells or these different scenes numbered so that when you get to the editing, you know what order to edit all of the different scenes, right? Okay? And so each scene is going to have a little drawing that depicts what's happening in the scene and a written description, if necessary, to define what's happening during that filming process, and any script. In other words, what are the characters going to be talking about? Now, it's not going to be the full script, but it will be enough to understand where you're at in the story. Okay? Now, the videos that we're going to be doing, anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, not a lot of script, not a lot of dialogue, but enough to make sure that you're keeping track of things. Okay? So you want to make sure that the storyboards have detail. So what all does the storyboard need to include? Okay? It needs to include each scene. And in each scene, you have to have the setting, the lighting. I'll put the actors and the camera movement. Now, the one thing I'm leaving out here, but it's something that you should probably think about, is what? I've got the scene, I've got the setting, I've got the actors, I've got the camera movement. Words. Well, how do I know there are words? Because you're on the right track. Audio. There you go, right? And audio is important in the sense that you need to know what the people are saying. And if you need to do a voiceover or re-record or whatever, you can do that. And that helps you kind of make sure that you're in the right place. Okay, so each scene has all of this, but also has a number or a numbering system. Okay, so that you know what order each scene needs to be put together when you do the editing. Okay, let's see here, sending there in audio, and I will put script. Okay, what's everybody saying? Okay. Cool. Now, if you are, say, at the point where you're doing this big involved thing and you are filming out of sequence, what helps you to, when you get to the editing part, make sure that you're going to be able to put it in sequence? What can you do when you go filming to make sure that you do that?
Like label them all.
Label what? As you download them onto your computer?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a really good idea, labeling each clip when you download it onto your hard drive or wherever you're saving it as to what it is. But what's something else you can do before that? Because let's say that Matteo goes out and films about 6 different scenes, but he comes back and he gives the memory card to Bram and says, here you go, download these and make sure that they're labeled correctly. And then he runs. Not Bram, Matteo. But you were going to say something. Okay. So we use it a little bit. We should use it more, but there's this thing called the clapper board. Okay? And on the clapper board, which you put in front of the camera before you film a scene, it has all the information. It has the name of the event, the video, the film. It has the information of the scene. It has the information of the date and the time. Everything that you need so that if somebody's looking at that clip on the computer in the editing room, they look to the clapperboard scene and they know, oh, that's what is being filmed. And then they hear that really nice clap, which is always kind of cool, right? So when you're thinking about equipment, let's do, and then clapper. Because you have to identify the scene, okay? I didn't like that one. And then you have to think about equipment. Now some of it's obvious. You need a camera, duh. You need the memory card, great. You're going to need some sort of audio capturing equipment, probably on the camera, but you never know. You might want something separate, okay? It could work either way. You're probably going to need a tripod. I would highly suggest a tripod, okay? What else might you need?
Audio system.
A what system?
Like some sort of audio system.
Audio capturing system? Yeah, I already said that.
Oh.
You might need like the tracks that you put
Right, so you might need some tracking, or we have a couple of dollies that have big wheels on it that roll very smoothly. So if you're going to have the camera actually has to move from one location to another, you can do that, but you got to make sure you have the equipment to do it. Is the camera going to be going up high or down low, or you're going to plan all the camera shots? Oh, which is another thing for each scene. Watch out for the camera shots / movement. Okay. One group is thinking about doing the early childhood class that is available for forecasting. Huh, well that's kind of interesting, right? So you guys might be thinking about, well, they got all that like playground stuff out there. What would be a cool way to capture that in video? What kind of angle do I want? Are there going to be kids using it while I'm filming it? You know, these kinds of questions, okay? Do I want to have the camera low when I'm looking at children? Or do I want it high looking down like, oh, there's just little people, right? And kind of be thinking through that. We've got a group from Mr. T's sign language class who's going to be creating a couple of videos to help promote sign language, okay? And they're thinking through about, well, do we want close-up of hands doing signing as somebody is speaking, or do we not want it close-up, right? Do we want to have people look like they're just having a conversation as opposed to standing and actually talking to a camera, okay? So all these kinds of things you're going to have to think through, and there's pluses and minuses for everything, or maybe the combination thereof. I don't know, right? And so that's another thing that you're going to have to put onto your storyboard when you're putting that together. Okay, so it's the brainstorming part of creating the video, and it's the how do I say this? It's the most labor intensive. It is where the work is really done, and it's the least expensive part of actually creating a video, okay, or a movie. Right? Because once you start getting a bunch of people involved and you're paying them, that can be rather expensive. And all the equipment and everything else, right? So if you're able to figure out how to handle the storyboard part in a very effective manner, you're going to be way ahead, and the actual filming is actually going to be kind of fun. Because everybody's going to know what to do. Everybody's going to be able to look at the storyboard and say, oh yeah, that's right, this is what we're doing. If you have a really good storyboard, you should be able to give it to somebody else, another film crew, another team, and they should be able to look through it and create what you imagine to be created. That's when you know you have a really good storyboard. Okay, so that's where we're going with that. So let's think back to what we talked about in, what's today? Well, on Tuesday about forecasting, okay? Because I kind of want to get you guys going and thinking and making decisions and sort of brainstorming. So, can anybody, excuse me, give me sort of a synopsis or a quick definition of what are we trying to create in relation to forecasting? What is the purpose? What is the end goal in promoting forecasting? Anybody remember? Feel free to refer to your notes. Yes? You can focus on a particular elective class, yes. But why are we doing this? What do we want to have happen?
Kind of to get people to like be more open to forecasting.
Yeah, we want people to actually think about forecasting. Thank you. Yes. Oh, good catch. Sorry about that. We want them to approach forecasting with a sense of interest, a sense of, hey, this is a good thing for me to be involved in. I'm glad I have the opportunity to do it, and see it as a positive thing that they're going to be able to engage in and do and feel good about the result. So if it's for a particular class, we got to ask the question of, why do people want to sign up for this class? What's the deal? What's the good deal? Talk me into it, kind of a thing, right? Forecasting in general, we talked a lot about that on Tuesday. The benefits of forecasting, the idea of preparing yourself for adulthood, and how you can do that here at West Salem High School and as a high school student. I look at forecasting because forecasting is really an opportunity for you to think about, what am I going to get, what do I want to get out of my high school education, and how can I make that happen, right? And if we get that kind of message communicated to the population of West Salem High School, I think that's a good thing to have them connect with. To get the idea that I have some measure of influence on my education here at West Salem High School. And forecasting is one way that I make that a reality, okay? So when you're thinking about the overall purpose of why we're promoting, why I want you to promote forecasting, it boils down to that. It boils down to, I can take charge of my education at West Salem High School, or I can choose to experience things that in any other situation I may not be able to. That's the advantage of doing things in high school. Like, if drama kind of scares you, but you're up for the challenge, go for it. See if you like it or not. You know, and you have the opportunity to engage with different groups or different classes or whatever. See what happens. So, forecasting is, and you can come up with your own definition of this, but I'm going to put an opportunity to create my best high school experience, or prepare for adulthood. Okay, that's a U. Okay. Okay, so any questions or comments at this point? About 5 more minutes. So what you want to do at this point, kind of review what we did on Tuesday, think about what we're talking about today, and you have the point number 1, figure out who your group is. Point number 2, figure out what group is going to focus on for your video promo. And then number 3, start working on your storyboard. And working on your storyboard just starts with just generating ideas about what you want to include, what you think you should include, any kind of dialogue or script would be helpful. And then we'll start to flesh this out. Okay? Cool. I'm going to stop talking now.